New statistics reveal 33,000 people living with HIV and AIDS. Former Gulf governor expresses disgust at relief supplies left to rot. And 2015 Games tickets selling out fast.
We've almost sold out all of the packages for swimming.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome. This is Tuesday's news. New records revealed today by the National AIDS Council Secretariat show that Northern, Enga and Jiwaka provinces are leading the nation's HIV and AIDS epidemic. Overall, an estimated 33,000 people in PNG will be living with HIV and AIDS by the end of 2015. People between the age group of 15 to 49 are the most affected.
Reports from the National AIDS Council Secretariat on PNG 2014 HIV and AIDS estimates and projections show that at the end of 2013, 32,297 people in PNG were living with HIV and AIDS. An estimated 33,948 people will test positive by the end of 2015. In the 2013 report, 69% of people tested positive were from 9 provinces alone. The estimated prevalence showed that Highlands region was leading, then Southern Momase and New Guinea Islands.
Or Narpla too, or Narpla province too, almost missing, because right now you will look in the statistics. All get a province of Papua New Guinea, you may get sick stuff in this.
HIV and AIDS was detected in PNG in 1987. Since then, a total of 60,000 people have contracted AIDS, and approximate 24,000 people have already died. Although stigma and discriminations are very high in the country, doctors and awareness groups are urging people living with HIV and AIDS to decrease their death expectancy and for them to live a healthy life.
Before time HIV come no plan demand. Some AIDS threat come now all die na meeting but now message mila talk out here supposed to make giving group like care and support na kan usem sila kan association olam be can stop long time positive ya plus o master plenty or live long time finish kan usem you can live also normal come na 60 or 70 I die.
Margaret Marabe is a person living with HIV and AIDS. She had come out of her comfort zone and had formed an organization called Hela Positive Living Network Association. The organization will be based in Hela province to provide in-depth HIV community awareness, training and advocacy on issues concerning people like Margaret to reduce stigma and discrimination in Hela province.
Hela will be says, HIV will be zero. Because what I'm doing here is without money. Trust God. I trust God. God will move.
Meanwhile, the National AIDS Council Secretariat Director, Peter Bire, said PNG needs economic empowerment to support the citizens to live a healthy and a successful life. Vasina Tayama, National EMTV News.
Former Gulf Governor Chris Haiveta has expressed disgust at the way in which he says the national government and Gulf provincial governments have failed to deliver disaster supplies to the flood-affected people of the Gulf. Mr. Haiveta was at a media conference in Port Moresby organised by Kikori MP Mark Maipakai. Local leaders from the Gulf province said the people are still suffering from the effects of the ongoing floods that occurred months ago.
The media conference was filled with local members from the Gulf provincial and national governments. Among the various topics discussed was the issue of the relief supplies that were left to waste without ever reaching the natural disaster victims in the Gulf province. Former Governor Chris Haiveta criticized the actions of both governments and called for immediate action.
Let me from the outset join the two leaders in expressing my disgust at the way in which both the national government and the provincial government have managed not to even get a wheelbarrow or a canoe to get disaster supplies down to people who need it in the province. It's absolute disgrace. It's a shame.
Kikori MP Mark Maipakai said due diligence was not followed through with the whole management and logistics of delivering the relief supplies to their destinations.
We have a wharf, we have MV Kikori doing regular service back and forth. There was no issue. If they didn't have the money, they committed paying somebody, I was prepared to say, allow even use GSIP funds to help them move our people's food down to Kerama. I was happy to do that. So we really want people to get to the bottom of this investigation, find out and convict us. We are prepared, we're going to prosecute. We are not sleeping, we prosecute.
Kerama MP Richard Mendani said he met with the minister responsible for provincial governments and LLGs and Deputy Prime Minister Chief Leo Dion regarding the situation on the ground in the affected areas.
Deliver the relief supplies on the ground in close consultation with myself and the member for Kikori as well as the president. We are the people on the ground. They need to do that. They cannot continue to give it to some of the funds to somebody who have no idea about disaster prevention, management and mitigation or adaptation issues.
Delhi Bagu, National EMTV News.
In Madang, the continued heavy rains and floods in the Usinobundi electorate are causing enormous threats on the recently restored bridges along the Ramu Madang highway. Fresh floods over the weekend washed away the temporary bypass in Asas, making it difficult to fix the broken bridge. A team of engineers from the works departments in both Morabe and Madang are now working against the weather to restore the broken bridges.
The continuous rains experienced here are causing more damages to locals and the travelling public almost every day. At Omea, where much of the damage had occurred, people are starting to rebuild their lives after an entire village was swept away. Madeline Amos and her husband have a transporting business that services the Leitu Madang highway, but lost everything to the flood. All their properties were covered by mud, including their house and 2 new vehicles, on the 11th of this month.
House boiler site been carrying one them. Boss problem go now I'm gonna escape lap and one house go down Lucy.
The floods and landslides had affected food gardens, cash crops and livestock for all the 4 villages. There is a shortage in the clean water supply and villagers are now digging up holes beside the big rivers to collect clean water for both cooking and drinking.
Now water mulai no digging mulside do big water and a good clean water come no drink.
Now the full restoration of the highway depends entirely on the weather. 2 of the broken bridges have been fixed. Works officers are currently working at the Dumpu Bridge. They are anticipating the completion of the bridge come Friday. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News, Madang.
Power supply into the Walliam station in Madang remains disrupted following the fall of power lines along the Ramu Madang highway. A number of power lines were uprooted after heavy rains and floods in the area. PNG Power officials on the ground said the damage is enormous and it will take 3 to 4 weeks before electricity can be restored.
For 4 weeks, residents at Walliam Station have been living without power supply. Some have resorted to using generators and it's costing them 100 kina per week. For shop owners and other business operators, their frozen goods have been destroyed. Market vendors to sell ice blocks and assorted canned drinks are being put out of business. This is one of the power lines destroyed by the recent floods on the 10th of this month. The power outage in Walliam has had multiple effects on government services and stretches into Madang town. Public servants and nearby communities continue to face disrupted communication, health and education services, and many have refused to go to work. PNG Power says the ongoing power outage in Walliam will continue for an indefinite period.
Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News, Madang.
Acting Sundown Governor Paul Nengai is appealing to Works Minister Francis Awesa to fix the collapsed bridge linking Vanimo town to the PNG-Indonesian border. Heavy rain last month has washed away the downed temporary bridge, affecting thousands of people in Vanimo West Coast and the border traders.
Passengers traveling along Vanimo's west coast towards the PNG-Indonesian border are forced to change PMVs along this section of the road. Heavy rain last month washed away this vital link, causing one end of the temporary bridge to sink. Down the temporary bridge is just a kilometer outside Vanimo town, but surprisingly it was built using logs taken from a timber company. Nearly 2 months after its collapse, Acting Sundown Governor Paul Nengai says his administration cannot do much as this road falls under the national government. He says the PNG-Indonesian border will soon become a major commercial hub for PNG and request Works Minister Francis Awesa to allocate money to build a permanent bridge.
The Department of Works is responsible for it. They have to come up with a plan, the costings, and then we can concurrently work together to get the bridge up. But I'm reluctant to say that provincial government will not be fully accommodated because that's a national road, international road. From Wiwek, it will come by the Vanimo into Jaipur. So it is about time Department of Works, the Minister of Works must give priority along Southern Province, along building more infrastructure along border. It's a shame. All in Indonesia only come up, put them car upside, they come over here by walking. For us, it's a shame.
Speaking during the commissioning of the new Teacher Savings and Loan Society sub-branch to a full branch in Vanimo recently, the acting governor said he wants more financial institutions in the province, but infrastructure developments like roads and bridges, which fall under the national government, must be given same attention as other provinces. Local users of Downer Bridge are also calling on the government to respond to their request immediately.
Because government must have a building, permanent bridge. Temporary, I must building. Temporary, I must building something will come up. Disaster.
PMV drivers and motorcyclists are also raising same concerns. Quinton Alomp, National EMTV News.
The All Search Pacific Games Relay is still in the Sundown province and today visited many towns and villages, including Vanimo Town, Bewani Government's border post and Aitape. Yesterday, the baton visited 3 districts in the Sundown province that include Nuku, Lumi and Telefomin.
On Monday the 30th of March, the relay team flew into Nuku Station, high in the Bewani mountain ranges of the Sundown province. What awaited them were huge crowds, government officials, police and Sing Sing groups. The baton was handed to the Deputy District Administrator, who then walked through the crowd and eventually handed it on to the village chief Andrew Kamboni, surrounded by the Kafle Sing Sing group. From there, the chief and the baton were driven to the Walamu station where the relay began. There were even bigger crowds and traditional dance groups entertained us all. The 10-kilometre distance back to Nuku station meant that runners hitched a lift with the motorcade that stopped many times at prearranged points for the runners to pass on the baton. Let's have a look at the highlights. Back at Nuku station, the crowds had swelled. The dancers continued. The relay team made it through the crowds and eventually back onto the plane. A fabulous effort by all the people involved. The relay journey continues.
And still to come on National MTV News tonight, the top prison student denied graduation, also improved services at Lae's Angar Hospital, and the latest on the government's home ownership scheme. Stay with us. Good to have you back with National MTV News. A young man serving time at Lae's Buimil prison, who is due to be awarded a communications degree by the University of Technology, has had requests for him to continue with a master's program refused because prison protocols weren't followed. Langtree Kinta was first featured in 2012 on MTV News while he was doing second year at the university. The concerns over the refusal were brought to light today by former Unitech President Eddie Nagual, who said that Kinta had requested to attend the graduation and continue with a master's program through a government scholarship. Jail Commander Judy Tara meanwhile told MTV News prison protocols are strict and should be followed, and that requests should have come through the Prison Submissions Committee. Kinta is one of the two top students in his class and is also a contender for the Chancellor's Medal, which will be awarded during graduation. He is currently serving a sentence for armed robbery. Lae's Angar Hospital will be providing improved blood testing services following the arrival of its new machine for blood test analysis. Angar's Hospital Acting CEO Dr. Jim Abraham says the new blood test analyzer will replace the old and slow manual system. The blood testing machine will be serving patients seeking pathology services from within Morobe and other provinces. The Chinese government has pledged its commitment to continue to assist Papua New Guinea in areas of trade, investments and infrastructure developments. Chinese Ambassador Li Ruiyu reaffirmed his government's commitment to foster the bilateral relationship between Papua New Guinea and China. The ambassador is now on his goodwill visit to the New Britain provinces to look at areas of development that the Chinese government's aid can assist.
China and Papua New Guinea's bilateral relationship has been growing since the establishment of the Chinese embassy soon after independence. China has been assisting Papua New Guinea in areas of health, education and infrastructure developments. Today, the Chinese ambassador maintains his government's commitment to assist Papua New Guinea.
This visit is to render the goodwill and friendship of the Chinese people and the Chinese government to the West New Britain provincial government and people here.
The Chinese ambassador this morning met with West New Britain Governor Sir Sindran Mutual and assured him of partnering in developing the West New Britain province. The visit will also seek to open up more opportunities for the Chinese to improve areas of infrastructure development and economic activities in West New Britain.
I'm looking forward to have more opportunities to continue our friendship and continue our cooperation. So I see the potential for further cooperation in many sectors like tourism, like education and health sector.
The Kimbe Provincial Hospital received a new operating theatre from the Chinese government. The Chinese ambassador also sent out his sympathy on behalf of the people of China to the communities affected by cyclone and flash floods in West New Britain. The Chinese government and also Chinese companies operating in Papua New Guinea also made donations in cash and kind. Sylvester Gawi, National MTV News, Kimbe.
The Bank South Pacific has released an update on the First Home Ownership Scheme. This loans facility is an initiative by the O'Neill Dion government and is being facilitated through BSP. Of the 200 million kina given by the government to fund these home loans, 4.2 million kina has been given out to date.
Speaking to MTV this morning, Kili Tambua, Deputy General Manager of Retail Banking, says they have had an overwhelming response to the scheme. He was able to break down the 4.2 million kina worth of loans that have been given out so far.
32 loans already been approved from 32 customers, and from the 32, 12 files have been funded, which makes up that 4.2 million, and the other 2 are in the process of funding.
Tambua says the agreement they have with Nest Fund and the superannuation arrangements that a lot of Papua New Guineans have has meant that many people are able to meet the 10% equity that the loan demands. However, what is still an obstacle for a lot of people is securing a state lands title, which is a vital condition to accessing this loan.
the key challenge for the customers, who are going to participate on this program is to have a fully serviced land available.
According to Dr. Yala, lead researcher on the lands program at the National Research Institute, all state land in all major towns and cities in PNG are already taken. The 12 successful loans under this first home ownership scheme have been able to produce state land titles, and all 12 of these titles are within the National Capital District. BSP was not able to give a breakup of how many of these clients are public servants as opposed to those from the private sector. It is understood that for the public servants, the government is making land available through schemes such as the Duran Farm Housing Scheme and are allocating certain allotments to various departments.
For Lands Department, they've allocated us about 50 blocks, of which the Deputy Secretary Corporate Affairs of the department, I've given him the task to set up a committee to sit down and screen our officers to see who really needs a place to stay.
Mr. Tambua also clarified that the money accessed from this loan can only be used to build a new house. It cannot be used to buy an existing house.
If somebody is thinking of getting a loan and leasing it out or selling it, it won't happen. This is purely for family dwelling. And it's locked in for the 40 years. If somebody, get the loan, bought a house, and halfway through the loan repayment, he passed away, he's dead. The ownership moves on to the son or the daughter.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
And now we take a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3735 in the interbank market, and at Bank South Pacific, our kina was fetching $0.366 $0.4749 Australian dollars, €0.3337 and 43.51 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, copper and cocoa all closed the day lower. Crude oil and palm oil closed the day lower as well, while copper closed the day higher. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 264 points higher, the ASX closed at 45 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 45 points higher as well. National EMTV News continues, and we'll bring you stories making headlines in the autonomous region of Bougainville when we come back. Stay with us. Thanks for your company and welcome back to the news. In the autonomous region of Bougainville, the 2015 general election update. Chief Dr. John Momis is recontesting the Bougainville presidential seat. Chief Momis has been nominated but challenged by former national parliamentarian Sam Akoitai. We now join MTV's Fabian Hakelitz in Buka with this story.
Thank you, Tokana. It's election fever here in the autonomous region of Bougainville. Streets of Buka town became so noisy with traditional chants and sing-sings on moving vehicles as supporters accompany their respective candidates for nomination. Chief Dr. John Momis was accompanied by his wife Elizabeth, former Vice President Patrick Nisera, who's also recontesting the Halia constituency seat, and supporters of the new Bougainville party. His nomination was then accepted by Regional Returning Officer John Itano. Meanwhile, Bougainville Acting Electoral Commissioner George Manu stated that returning officers for each constituency are responsible for accepting candidates' nominations. Nomination for the third autonomous Bougainville government general election is now open since yesterday. The 3-day nomination period will end tomorrow, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Bougainville Standard Time. In Buka, Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
Women can change Bougainville is the slogan that women candidates contesting in this year's general election will use whilst campaigning. A woman candidate contesting in the constituency seat, Hona Holland, believes that women can make a difference in Bougainville. This is the powerful message that will change the perception and barrier of men over women when it comes to general elections. Once again, Fabian Hakelitz has this story.
Hona Holland is the only woman candidate contesting the Haku constituency seat. She was accompanied by supporters of both genders for nomination this morning. Mrs. Holland has experiences in women's programs and as former Bougainville Women's Federation president that gives her courage to contest in the constituency and not reserved seat dominated by men in the last 2 elections.
Mi kat big plus support kam long oloman long haku long misan upload this plus seat because all people to only thing also time plus senis enough time plus senis.
Other prominent women leaders also supported the call for more women to contest elections. It's now time for a change.
Big plus something and me like looking Bougainville change. Na this election, current election, me lomi pla almeri and critical. That's why me like supporting more Mary go inside sana.
Women are contesting because they have learned so much, they have experienced so much, and they really would like to participate in the coming referendum in the political arena.
Fabian Hakalitz, National EMTV News, Buka.
A key issue for Bougainville and Papua New Guinea are the missing persons of the crisis. Women leader, Catholic nun, Sister Lorraine Garasu, says peace is an unfinished business, and for true peace to prevail, Bougainvilleans and Papua New Guineans must reconcile and really say sorry moving on in life. Our journalist Fabian Hakalitz spoke to Sister Lorraine.
Missing persons of the Bougainville crisis is an issue the national and autonomous Bougainville governments are working around the clock to ensure reconciliation proceed. Women leader and human rights advocate Sister Lorraine Garasu said outstanding crisis-related issues remain unsolved, while Bougainville has sailed through uncharted waters of forgiveness into peace building. Saying sorry and true forgiveness must come from the heart.
You may always have line irresponsible or line irresponsible. Only must got moral obligation. Moral obligation long kirap. Na talking people lo Bougainville or Papua New Guinea also me play sorry. Suppose me sabi also me bin come up maybe blow claim die one plaman. O bagrapim something long one plaman long time long crisis. Time now me can kirap na tokol sem. Me sorry. You sabi this pla up to. Me sorry must come a big pla. Have long building peace.
The moral obligation as a human being and Christian is to say sorry. Peace is about human and social needs, people's security and safety.
Therefore, you have a moral obligation to tell people you are sorry. Because sometimes, also currently, there are people who don't know where their relatives are. Their relatives are still missing. So this is a key issue for Bougainville and Papua New Guinea.
Meanwhile, the ABG's president and Bougainville Executive Council Peace and Reconciliation Directorate have conducted a series of meetings on missing persons. EMTV will bring you a follow-up of the recommendations. Fabian Hakalitz, National EMTV News, Buka.
4 primary schools in the Moresby South electorate are either suspended or need urgent maintenance to their toilets or ablution blocks. Local MP and Sports Minister Justin Chichenko said an education audit report by Minister Kuman stated that 70 million kina was spent on schools in Moresby South, but there was nothing tangible to show for it on the ground. These schools include Koki Primary, Butuka, St. Francis and Sevese Moria Primary School. Yesterday, the minister visited one of the affected schools.
Sevese Moria is one of the oldest schools in the Moresby South electorate. Over 800 students attend this school, but during the visit yesterday, it was empty as classes have been suspended for 3 weeks now since it was condemned and closed by NCD health inspectors. The local MP visited the school and met with the school board of management and representatives from Edaranu. It was revealed that over 1,500 students from both primary and elementary used these 2 ablution blocks to relieve themselves. After hours, the staff and their families also used the same sewage system. This has resulted in blocked toilets and blocked sewage system, which has forced the school to be closed for 3 weeks. Mr. Tachenko was furious that despite so much money spent on schools in his electorate, they remain rundown and in dire need of maintenance.
And here's a classic example of where all the money has not gone. Currently we've got 800 students here at Sevese Moria, not in school because of selfish individuals stealing the money for their own personal gain.
Minister Tachenko said it was not his responsibility to fix school toilets and sewage systems, as it was the responsibility of NCD Education. He was frustrated that his office had to cover up for millions of kina allegedly misused by those in the system.
Now, nearly 300 million was squandered and has been misused and is now gone, where we could have used that money for all these vital services for improving our school facilities, our toilets and everything here in Moresby South, West and Northeast. This is very, very important. Now, for me, this is just an absolute disgrace.
He is committed to resolve the problem so that the school can reopen next week. The minister also made similar commitments to Butuka Primary School and Elementary for contractors to demolish the existing ablution blocks and rebuild new ones. Elementary students are forced to use pit toilets in the city school. However, to date, nothing has been done due to funding constraints, while NCDC Education remains silent about the whole issue. Bridget Komatep, National EMTV News.
Tickets for the 2015 Games swimming almost sold out. We'll tell you more about that and we'll give you more sporting action in True Guy Sports after the break. Stay tuned.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. Well, the tickets for the 2015 Pacific Games are selling out like hotcakes. That's according to the Chief Executive Officer of the Games Organising Committee, Peter Stewart. MTV's Delibago has more on this story.
According to Mr. Stewart, just days after the 2015 Pacific Games tickets went on sale, they are now beginning to run out.
With only 3 days of selling so far, we've almost sold out all of the packages for swimming. So if you want to go and see swimming, you need to get in very quickly and get a ticket. The same for the opening ceremony. And we're hoping that we'll sell out all the tickets well before the games start.
The tickets are being sold at Bank South Pacific branches. 85% of all tickets are available to the public. The average price of a ticket is 13 kina. Tickets can be purchased via an order form or over the counter.
I hope everybody's getting pretty excited about the games now. We have tickets on sale, 650,000 tickets available for the public, but make no mistake, they're going to go very, very quickly.
Delhi Bagu, National EMTV Sports.
PNG's weightlifting sensation, Dikatoa, went through her first MRI scan at the Pacific International Hospital after experiencing slight pain and swelling in her left knee. This happened during her regular training at the High Performance Centre. However, following the MRI scan, the doctor conducting the scan said she was fine and there was nothing serious about the injury. MTV's Shane Saroya has more.
Dikatoa was accompanied by PNG weightlifting patron Sir John Davanikura to the hospital to get her MRI scan after she complained about her left knee being swollen and in pain.
I'm grateful that I have the opportunity and to come to PIH to have my scan done and know what has been wrong with my or that I've been carrying an injury. And
she was put through the scan in the presence of media personnel and her family. Toa has done weightlifting for over 15 years and her body surely is starting to wear and tear. She came out feeling positive about her scan, but the official result of the MRI scan will be announced later as it will go through High Performance Training Center to the physiotherapist and the team doctors. With the assistance of PIH doctors, they will then recommend her rehabilitation.
Yeah, they look at me as their role model. I'm setting an example for them, PIH.
She will be traveling this Sunday to New Caledonia and continue her training in the Oceania Weightlifting Institute with her coach Paul Kofa. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
The PNG Olympic Committee through Pacific International Hospital will now allow PNG athletes to access the health facilities of the hospital under special arrangements. The Olympic Committee has already submitted the paperwork and a bond amount to effect the arrangements, which now supports athletes on a complimentary basis. Once again, Shane Soroya has more in this report.
In preparation for the Pacific Games, PNG athletes can now go through the same process as Decatur, whether it is the X-ray, CT scan or magnetic resonance imaging (MRI) for any soft tissue reparations. In terms of injury, PIH stands ready to assist not only Team PNG, but the other 23 countries, including Australia and New Zealand athletes who will be participating in the Pacific Games.
We already have an arrangement with Team PNG, Olympic Committee. Basically, we are referring to how to the final enhancement on what are the terms and all that of this arrangement. But they are already actually already a established client.
They can access the medical facility during and after the Pacific Games, depending on the seriousness of the injury.
In preparation for the Pacific Games, we have to refer all of our injured athletes, male and female, after the initial diagnosis through our physio and or our doctors to PIH.
Not only sports injuries, but there could be other health problems that the athletes are going through.
That's not visible to the human eye, and therefore that will assist our physio as well as team doctors to plan the rehabilitation of that athlete so that, as Joel said earlier, they can participate at the optimum best for PNG.
Pacific International Hospital staff will assist the physiotherapists and team doctors to plan the rehabilitation of the athletes so they can participate at the optimum best for Team PNG. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And True Kai Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports.
Good to have you back with True Kai Sports. The PNG National Game Fishing Titles has attracted teams from Lae, Madang and also from across the Tasman, Australia and New Zealand. The national titles have got off to a great start over the first 2 days of the competition. The national titles will run for 9 days, which began on Saturday and will end on the 5th of April.
Day 1 of the National Game Fishing Titles has proven to be successful, with about 45 fish caught from the 21 boats that have entered so far. Among them was a 41.5 kilogram yellowfin tuna caught by Mike Gibson aboard Osprey, a 40 kilogram sailfish by Russell Curtin on Madness, and the unfortunate Molly Hidaka, who caught a massive 50 kilogram yellowfin tuna on Catalina, which was disqualified as he missed the weigh-in by a crucial 15 minutes. Day 2 of the national titles yielded slimmer pickings from the fishermen, with the catch of the day being a 46.4 kilogram yellowfin tuna by David Young aboard Desperado. President of the Game Fishing Association, Russell Curtin, is pleased with the turnout of this year's national titles.
The national titles this year, I'd say outstanding success so far. It's been brilliant. We've got, I can't tell you the exact numbers yet, but it's around 200 people so far have entered the national titles. We're expecting a few more. Easter weekend coming up, we normally get a few more people come in for that as well.
With the shootout scheduled for tomorrow, the competition is expected to heat up as the Easter weekend draws near. Dion Kombang, National EMTV Sports.
And that report wraps up our True Kai Sports segment tonight. The weather details after the break. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region, Port Moresby, Alotau, Daro and Popondetta. To look forward to fine weather, Karama, cloudy weather. In Momase, mostly fine expected in all centres. In the New Guinea Islands, mostly fine expected in all centres as well. And in the Highlands region, all centres, mostly low cloudy weather expected with morning fog. Now before we go, as always, recapping our top headlines again tonight. New statistics reveal 33,000 people living with HIV and AIDS. Also, former Gulf governor expresses disgust at relief supplies left to rot, and 2015 Games tickets selling out fast. And that's the way it is, the 31st of March 2015. On behalf of the news crew, I'm Tokana Hasavi. Thanks for your company. You take care and stay safe. Good night.